Hi, welcome back, Cumbrian Homestead. Now we're into August. One of the things that needs doing, certainly here in the north of the United Kingdom, is to summer prune your restricted forms of fruit tree. So in this case an espalier. Same would apply to oblique cordons such as the ones I've got on my plot. Also included would be fan trees, fan train trees, step over trees, things like that. So let's have a closer look. So on our espalier we have the main trunk, and then we've got a pair of arms about 18 inches apart, 3 pairs, so yeah. And if we take a look in, so here's this horizontal arm coming across from which arise fruiting spurs. And this shoot here, for example, is this year's growth. It's about 2'6" long, thereabouts. So if we didn't do anything and just left that, obviously it would revert to a sort of tree, if you like. All these shoots would continue growing, side shoots would come out of them, and the whole thing would just become a mass. So the idea of restriction is to restrict the tree by pruning to the shape, and in this case I want it to occupy this fence. So we need to restrict the growth of the tree, but we're also summer pruning to make fruit buds rather than leafy growth, wood growth. We want to encourage the tree into fruit production. Let's have another look. So if we take, so there's the main branch, we've got a spur coming out, oops, and we've got 2 branches coming off that spur. Just there is a fruit bud developing. This part here right at the base, you see there's a little circle of leaves. It's called the basal cluster. So when we're summer pruning, we want to be just cutting above, maybe half to 1 inch above this basal cluster. Get my secateurs. So there's the basal cluster there. So probably sliding down to that leaf just above this leaf joint there. See what I've done? So that's where it came out. There's the basal cluster. We've just gone about 1 inch just above a leaf, and then hopefully this will now develop fruit bud. So we're just going to systematically do that right along the whole tree. So I'll bring you back in just a second. So that's what it looks like now, and I'll show you the finished thing when I've pruned it. The other thing just to think about, if you want any grafting wood for next year, then obviously leave some wood unpruned to provide you with sign wood for next year. I thought I'd just stop halfway through, so clearly you can see I've done this side, just to show you the difference. And that's the amount of material that's come off this side. So we'll push on and get this side done and bring you back. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's a pile of material now. It is a big pile of material, but don't be alarmed. I've been doing the same process with this tree for 20 years, so it doesn't hurt it at all. And I'm going to shove that through the chipper. We'll be able to use that. Let's just have a look at a few problems we've had on this tree this year. So just take a look at one of the branches I've cut off. So it'll have grown away in spring from the base down here, the basal cluster, which I was referring to before. And looks like it was making good growth, and then all of a sudden you'll see here we've had really bad aphid attack, and so you can see that it's quite stunted, and it's actually almost stopped the growth until just recently, and then you can see that actually the tree's making healthy growth again. It's quite interesting, that. Now this wasn't sprayed, so in other words the tree's kind of recovered. I will use sprays if I have to, try not to do it so frequently, but it just shows you, doesn't it, sometimes the tree can recover. Depends, I guess, how severe the attack is, 'cause it, and obviously the vigour and health of the tree as well are all factors. Let's have a look at some other things. So this lower branch has been grafted, there's the grafting point there, to Discovery, variety Discovery apple. It's an early apple, and you'll see all the fruits, including this one in my hand here, they've all dropped early. And I think most of that problem's down to Coddling moth. So, sorry about that, wasps getting a bit uncomfortably close. But yeah, that's Coddling moth damage. So one of the things that I didn't get time to do was put up a Coddling moth, a pheromone trap, and what that does is it attracts the, I think it's the males, and it's really used to just give you an indication of how bad the infestation is. So if it was really heavy, you know, if you're catching more than say 5, 6, 7 moths in a day, that indicates a heavy infestation. You're probably going to have to spray. Let's have a look at another problem. So on the other side, so that was the Discovery over here, on the other side this has been grafted to a cooking apple. It's a heritage one called Lemon Square. It's quite an attractive apple. So if you look at this example, you see those dark spots there. That's bitter pit. I'll cut into it and show you. Okay, so as I say, you can kind of, the telltale signs of these dark spots just under the skin. So if we cut into it, you can see how it's affected the flesh of the apple. You could obviously use part of it, but it's effectively makes that apple useless, although it'd be okay for cider. You just have to cut, time you cut all that stuff out, there wouldn't probably be much of it left. So this is caused by a lack of calcium, and that's probably due to the drought that we had. So the lack of moisture inhibits the tree's ability to take up calcium. So again, what I could have done if I'd had time was irrigate the trees, or apply a calcium foliar spray, which I don't have, so I need to get some of that. Yeah, so we've had aphid damage, we've had bitter pit, we've had Coddling moth, so it's thrown a lot of stuff at us this year. I'll bring you back. So all the clippings that I removed from the Espalier have been through the shredder, so they'll make a useful addition to the compost pile.